It is September 30th, 2015, the end of September, the end of the May through September type we were looking at. And it started off with the riots in Baltimore, were one of the things that was going on at the beginning in May. And then in the middle, Jade Helm 15 started, and you had the shooting in Chattanooga where 6 people were killed. And we went through many other things and analyzed it very closely as a type. And the 5-month-long hour of temptation, the actuality, will begin with a one-world system, and then in the middle, after the deadly wound, and the Greece collapse was the type of the deadly wound, in my opinion, with this type we're looking at, May through September 2015, okay? And in the actuality, though, right after the deadly wound, in the middle of the 5 months, Satan appears in Jerusalem as the false Christ, having been cast out of heaven unto the earth, and his angels cast out with him at the beginning of the 5-month period, beginning the one world system, because you have to have Daniel's 4th beast, the supernatural ingredient, for it to be the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns, because those 10 horns are 10 fallen angel kings that get cast out of heaven with Satan. And also that begins the 4 stages of the locust army, the gnawer, swarmer, devourer in the first 2.5 months, the first half hour. And then when Satan appears in Jerusalem as the false Messiah, that begins the 4th and final stage, the consumer stage. And now here we are at September 30th, and Hurricane Joaquin to hammer U.S. East Coast with flooding, strong winds. And whenever you look up this word Joaquin, guess what that means? The Spanish language version of Jehoiachin. Jehoiachin was a king of Judah in the Old Testament. So now, thinking along the lines of the end of the 5-month-long hour of temptation, the actuality, so you look for types, and we know that Russia, along with other communistic nations, will come against America right at the very end in the Battle of the Valley of Hamongog. So what was the type of that? Putin at the United Nations, Russia coming against America on American soil, but not a physical attack. Him saying self-conceit of the West created Mideast chaos. A political attack, okay, right at the end of September. So look at it as a type. There's Russia on American soil attacking America, okay? And a type isn't exactly like the actuality is going to be, but there you have it. Russia on American soil attacking the West, even though it's with words, still works as a type. Now go to Mark chapter 13, and what happens at the end of the actual 5-month-long hour of temptation? Verse 24 of Mark 13, but in those days after that tribulation, after the hour of temptation, the tribulation of Satan, the sun shall be darkened and the moon shall not give her light. This is when the tribulation of Almighty God begins. Yes, there are 2 tribulations. And the stars of heaven shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory, the true Christ returning at the 7th trumpet. And then shall he send his angels, and shall gather together his elect from the 4 winds, from the uttermost part of the earth to the uttermost part of heaven. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When her branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is near. Summer being the harvest, which is the end of the world. So to learn the parable of the fig tree, you have to go to Jeremiah 24, and it reads in verse 1, the Lord showed me, and behold, 2 baskets of figs were set before the temple of the Lord after that Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, a type of Antichrist, had carried away captive Jeconiah, the son of Jehoiakim. Now this is Jehoiachin, Joaquin in the Spanish, okay? That's who it's talking about. So there's that to take into consideration. And if you look at the chapter just prior to Jeremiah 24, in verse 19, behold, a whirlwind of the Lord is gone forth in fury, even a grievous whirlwind. It shall fall grievously upon the head of the wicked. The anger of the Lord shall not return until he have executed, until he have performed the thoughts of his heart. In the latter days ye shall consider it perfectly. At the end of that 5-month-long hour of temptation, then comes the wrath of God, the return of the true Christ. So what should you have learned from all this 5-month-long May through September? Well, first of all, what happens when, most likely, we've learned that, but moreover, and if you've learned nothing else, understand this, that the Antichrist, who is Satan himself disguised as Jesus, will appear in Jerusalem before the true Christ will return.